You are not ready.
I know.
Like everyone else, you want to learn the way to win, but never to accept the way to lose. To accept defeat, to learn to die is to be liberated from it. So when tomorrow comes, you must free your ambitious mind and learn the art of dying.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Bullion Breakdown. It's been a few days, took a few days over the last weekend here and took a break. Think it's good, clear the mind, and come back with a little bit of vigor. So that's what we have today. As I've been updating you guys over the last number of months with regards to CBDC implementation, not only in Canada, but across the globe. This episode, I'm just going to step it back and update you a little bit about what's going on here in Canada, because it's a bit of two steps forward and one steps back as it relates to the Bank of Canada and its communication around CBDC. Pretty interesting. They are almost signaling a pause or a giant question mark as to why should they be adopting CBDC. So yeah, let's take a look at that in the video today. And we'll speak a little bit about that and anything else that's going on. But I look forward to talking some more here. So let's take a look. But before jumping in, let's take a look back, because in July, I had focused on an article released by the BIS, which is the Bureau for International Settlements. It's a large corporation that basically settled the debt of World War II and ever since, as they handle country-to-country debt. However, they had noted here that 93% of central banks surveyed in their survey recently had confirmed that they're working on projects for implementation. So interesting to see that. And then when you skip forward to Canada, I had released again on the channel a independent survey, which was done by a financial organization, Wealth Rocket, I think was the organization. And they had surveyed a group of Canadians 18 plus, over 1,000 respondents. And this is the results they came up with, which was very concerning, because they were suggesting Canadians were actually wanting CBDC. In general, they weren't seeing it as a threat. So that's basically what you see here. So now let's flip to today's information, or this month's information in August, as to what the Bank of Canada is saying, because they're saying much different than what we're seeing here in this survey released by Wealth Rocket. They are saying that the Bank of Canada finds very little reason for Canadians to adopt a CBDC. And the more alarming part of this is sort of tucked in here in the second part. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police, or the RCMP, wants a digital repository for seized crypto. I'll go through briefly, and I'm going to do a little bit of reading in this video, but it's a little bit crazy what they want to do. They want to gain control of all of the crypto stuff in Canada. So meaning it's no longer unregulated. So they're trying to regulate everything from a quote unquote, criminal perspective, so they can seize money and protect that money while it's seized, so they can do proper investigations, and they want all the technology, and so they're doing grants and all that. So that's very alarming. But anyways, at the end of the day, the Bank of Canada here was doing an investigation, and they found just that Canadians see very little reason to adopt this. And that definitely leads, as they say, to potential problems down the road as they look for broad acceptance of this type of technology. And the main focus of the investigation was on the scenario where the emergence of a cashless society could warrant the introduction of a general purpose cash like CBDC. So, and what they're saying here is, if that were to happen, at the end of the day, most people in Canada are technology enabled from a banking perspective, and they would survive with the new forms of CBDC, and they would still probably use the other. Now they sit on the fence a little bit and leave it open to banks to determine, ultimately when cash is run out of the system, and that would be based on demand. And you know how banks will do that. They'll ratchet supply to merchants and to retailers. That'll put the pressure on them to only accept digital forms. Fast forward 6 to 8 months, 12 months, 2 years, and they'll make an excuse that there's no longer a need for cash because nobody spends cash. So that's kind of how that'll go. But in Canada, the report said, and this is interesting, that 98% of Canadian adults have bank accounts, 87%, and this is alarming, have credit cards. Just think of the debt loaded up on those people. And 90% of rural and urban households combined have access to high quality internet. So those are all good reasons why the Bank of Canada now is I want to say doing a step back from rushing towards CBDC, and that is definitely new and interesting from my perspective. So let's take a deeper look here again. So as the BOC publicly head fakes on CBDC implementation, it's interesting to me that they slide in this little bit at the end that the Royal Canadian Mounted Police puts out a call for a digital repository for seized assets. So what does that mean? And ultimately what it means is they're partnering with Shared Services Canada, which I assume SSC is something important here in Canada. They announced that they're looking to develop a digital asset solution to facilitate the seizure and storage of cryptocurrency and non-fungible tokens, or NFTs, from multiple public blockchains. Oh my goodness, that's just a little blurb at the end of this thing. But what that is ultimately a swipe at unregulated transactions. So, I mean, listen, there's no nefarious anything going on in my world. So I'm happy that they're looking to solve crimes and be efficient from that perspective. However, it's starting to lean into controlling of digital assets in and around the time that the government is head faking, saying, CBDCs aren't that important. And here we are, next thing we know, they're going to push for regulation and they'll have the laws all set to, manage those digital platforms and police those the same way that they do in today's financial system. So, that's my conspiracy theory guy for the day. But this is what they're doing. So yeah, that's what's going on in Canada. They're putting the word out to all these companies and they're offering grants, for if you make a certain, if your contract or if your submission receives a contract into phase one, they're going to receive $150,000 and they'll have 6 months to develop a product. And from there, if they step into the next phase, that's a grant of $1 million in funding, and they're allowed another 12 months to submit more products. So that's all a push from the RCMP, and I guess the government here, to find a solution that allows them to snoop on the crypto assets here in Canada. So there you go. That is CBDC and a little bit of government snooping, I think, into the finances of digital assets here in Canada. That's the update and what's going on. I really appreciate everybody for taking the time to watch, for taking the time to watch. And I hope you check out more on the channel. Until next time, everybody, stay awesome.
Check out the big brain on Brad. You're a smart motherfucker. That's right.